I'm Mari. Hope you're having a good day, and I hope this video makes today just a little bit better. Okay, so today we're gonna be taking a look at The Hate for Bao the Whale by Depressed Nusagi. This is gonna be very interesting because I didn't know people hated Bao, so I'm very out of the loop with this one.
It is so easy to get hated on the internet.
True.
One moment you are the darling of your circle. The next, you are everyone's favorite punching bag. Whether that be one Google Docie, one bad video, one sentence that crosses the line, many creators have experienced the full brunt of their audiences and the internet's wrath.
Guys, alright. When you finally come to cancel me, can you at least, let me weaponize my autism as the response video? Am I allowed to do that? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I feel like that alone would get me canceled, bro.
But sometimes, this switch up doesn't happen immediately.
That's true.
It happens slowly and gradually.
Wait,
Beloved
really?
creators are usually accompanied by defensive fan bases and neutral onlookers who will justify their actions or give them the benefit of the doubt.
Really?
But this happens usually with just one or two mistakes. Multiple wrongs that resemble a pattern, though, that's enough to gradually wear down this patience and respect. Such is the case of Bao the Whale, a beloved VTuber who has won hearts with her vulnerability, sheer raw energy, and more than hilarious moments. But just outside her close circle lies loud critics that awaits a comeuppance. Across multiple platforms, it's getting harder to ignore the mounting backlash against Bao, and a few fans or onlookers might have seen these and felt confused. This video will chronicle these reasons, and hopefully it will serve as a lesson to public conduct as a content creator. Hopefully, it will serve as proof that the reasons people may love you can often be the reasons why people may hate you.
The only thing I think I really know about Bao is that she made that inflation joke, and then she made that whole submarine with the billionaires dying kind of joke. Those are really the only two things I think I've heard about her, at least on the Bird app.
Bao is an old soul in the internet. In fact, she's more OG than some of your OG VTubers. She used to go by the handle Hikaru Station.
Wait, what?
She uploaded her first video on July of 2015, almost 11 years ago.
Wait, the lore drop. Wait, so she's been in the YouTube scene as a singer for as long as I've been a Twitch streamer. That's kind of crazy. I had no idea.
She was an utaite, a brand of YouTubers whose main content consists of covering Japanese songs. I would like to think she was relatively successful too. Even now at her peak, her top 3 most played song covers were from years ago.
Wow.
Even before she had her Bao persona. This would go on for at least half a decade, up until the VTuber boom of 2020. Hikaru Station made a post on Reddit promoting her whale VTuber model. This would be when she gave herself the name Bao. Through viral clips, her half-decade of musical and content creation experience, and the network gained from this experience, Bao quickly rose through the ranks of being Western VTubing's most recognizable names. And she was the genuinely fun force to be around, yet at the same time—
You know how many VTubers have gotten really big for singing? It's true. It's true. There are the 4 pillars of content creation for success in VTubing. It's singing, ASMR, clip farming, and drama. Those are the 4 pillars. And if you can strike all 4 of those pillars, you become super viral and famous. And those are the pillars, man. I'm telling you, there's pillars.
There was a rawness to her energy. She was unfiltered in a seemingly genuine, not cringy way. It felt like she was one of us, an actual weeb who loved VTubing, anime, and the very same things that we fans liked. She was as much as a degenerate as a lot of us. Not in the "so you can goon to me" way, but in the "let's goon together" way. I need to be free! She wore her heart on her sleeve, and people noticed, so one can't help but open their hearts to her in turn. But cracks started showing, and at first, they weren't the cracks that many people thought they were. In mid-2023, Bao got caught into a bad situation, one that would sour and poison her perception of business and VTubing for years to come. She talks on stream about how she lost all her subathon money, scammed by an animation studio who is now refusing to render her any service. The total loss was $34,000. The studio behind this was one—
Dude, that's the amount of my student loans. that is like life-changing money. That's people's education kind of money. Like, that's a lot of money to get scammed out of. And I hate to admit that I've been scammed out of more than that. But, like, that's a lot of money.
Cell, manned by a person who claimed to have the qualifications under his belt, as he had previously worked with Tonari Animation, a veteran, well-respected studio in the industry. For reference, Tonari made Gura's Shark animation and was also responsible for working on major animes like Mushoku Tensei, Danmachi, and this entire list. So suffice to say, the person behind Studio Cell, James Wick, had the repertoire to lure in some potential clients.
Yeah.
Initially, he indeed got clients like Girl DM, Osaka na Nimu, and Unigiri, all of which had some good experience with Studio Cell, but quickly turning sour after some progresses in their projects.
Really?
While this drama was broiling behind the scenes, Bao was the one that kicked the entire situation out to the public. Many VTubers like Sarue, Captain Hana, and even Giga all shared their horror stories with the studio, parroting the same incident, them putting money in it and nothing coming out. Though Bao was later able to get a partial refund due to her winning 2 PayPal disputes. Studio Cell even made an entire Google Docu to try and justify on why he hasn't refunded the girls, but it wasn't received very well for obvious reasons. No service rendered means you don't keep the fucking money. Obviously, we can all agree that this is not Bao's fault, like literally zero.
Yeah.
James Wick and Studio Cell came from a prestigious, trustworthy background who had the talent, experience, and the work to back up their words up until the last minute. Anyone could have fallen for this. It was really only in hindsight where James Wick was discovered to be
he got fired from the anime studio. Oh, man. That's crazy. Bro's a scammer. Dude, man, if I had a nickel for every time somebody promised work, an artist particularly, and then they just ghost, I probably would have enough money to afford an actual art commission from a legitimate artist at this point, man.
Fired from Tonari, not as this person that he painted himself to be. Although this situation had some sort of partial resolution, things weren't going to let up. 2 weeks after this situation, Bao had to go to the Philippines. Alongside her manager, Cha Latte, she was to personally attend Conquest, a convention that was marketed to be one of Southeast Asia's biggest in 2023.
Oh, wow.
Remember Cha? She's a surprise tool that will help us later.
Wait, what?
This convention was super hype, but due to mismanagement, a whole lot of greed, and a whole lot of corporate bullshittery, it ended up being one of the worst con experiences in the country. I was there. I remember it all too well.
Oh no.
That was a Taylor Swift reference. In any case, Conquest being as bad as it was affected everyone. The attendees, the artists and celebrities, and especially the staff. In fact, I feel bad for the staff the most. They were facing one in front of the backlash despite just doing their best with a bad situation. And because they were overwhelmed, Bao was severely neglected. Bro didn't have anyone to communicate with in regards to the appearance, when she was to show up, or even audio checks. Meanwhile, Shoto was apparently treated like a VIP, his balls always empty from the jobs the staff were blowing. Nobody was talking to Bao, and it seemed like people there forgot about her. With her experience just recently getting scammed 2 weeks ago, her being essentially scammed now, she had a bit of a mental breakdown. More than a bit of a mental breakdown even.
I mean, that's kind of valid though, if you think about it. Like, listen, it's hard to run a convention successfully. It's a lot of communication, a lot of delegation, and well, you just need to be understanding on how business works, and it's difficult for that to fully be achieved. And I've definitely been on the receiving end of going to a con and feeling very, very neglected because, I don't know, maybe I'm just not a big enough creator, or they're just really bad at running a business. I don't know. I know what that feels like. I also know what it feels like to be a part of a convention that is very communicative and successful at business, and it feels really good when they got their shit together, so to say. So I understand like the both sides of it. I've also have worked at conventions, both volunteer and at being paid to be there as well. I've seen the industry side of it as well, and the intercommunications of the entire structure of these conventions from all different sides. Like I've been around that industry, and yeah, if that's how Bao got treated, man, that sucks. That really sucks. It's not a good feeling.
Wanted to talk to her community about why she wasn't appearing on time and why she wasn't anywhere at all, she took to Twitter to say that the organizers forgot about her. And when she tweeted that, That was when staff members decided to reply to Bao and even asked her to delete the tweet. Bao despaired over this situation, considering last year's Conquest experience was overall fun for her. Even the organizers showed proof that they did try to reach out to Bao, but with how bad the entire event was handled, there was really no saving it. This year was so bad that Conquest was cancelled for the foreseeable future.
Wow.
Bao would move on from this entire thing, and 7 months later, she came out with a sudden statement saying that she'll no longer work with Copium Merch, saying that she's not satisfied with their services and that Vita Ramen will take over. She later posts a tweet saying that she would like to stop being taken advantage of. Considering the amount she's been through in the past 8 months alone, it's easy to see why. And only 2 weeks after this, she would expand on her previous statement, detailing a bit more about the Copium Merch situation. She said that since 2022, she has not been paid by the company. After being repeatedly promised throughout 2023 that they would finally give her what she is owed this year, she learned that the company has actually burned through all their money and could no longer afford to pay her. To try and make up what she was owed, Bao had to sell old variations of previous merch releases and despairs over the loss of trust and pressure from paying members of her community.
That sucks.
Vita Ramen would try to help her with these logistics. It wasn't just Bao too. There was also Yuzu, Shoto, and even Amali that fell victim to Copium Merch and hasn't been paid for years. There was a thread a couple days before Bao released this statement. A VTuber, Isa Corva, released a Google Document about how their manager asked for a small loan of $1,100, only to then later—
A small loan of $1,100? I'm sorry, what? Yeah, it's a small loan that's like the deposit of a house, you guys. You guys can spare that, right?
Learned that she also asked and borrowed money from multiple people using the same sob story and never paid them back. Bao would reply to this thread saying that she'll never get a manager again. And when a commenter pointed out that a manager could have helped with the Copium Merch situation, Bao responded that the owner of Copium Merch was her manager.
What?
Cha Latte. This person who was helping Bao with Conquest all this time was the owner of Copium Merch. It was surprising to me because I didn't know. And Bao would later throw shade, pointing out that Bro had the audacity to look for new clients 2 months prior to Bao's expose, probably to try and pyramid scheme their way into paying what she owes if she had plans to pay what she owes in the first place. Cha had seen Bao get scammed, emotionally wrecked, and spiral into a low, low place throughout 2023 and literally said that she got one more in.
That's crazy.
Bao getting scammed 3 times within a span of a year is extremely unfortunate, but it also bred a bit of a negative sentiment. Not negative, just a bit of doubt in her character. People felt bad for Bao, but some started to recognize that despite all of these not being her fault, how oblivious do you have to be to get screwed over to that extent multiple times in a—
Okay, so I understand that mindset. I really do. I understand the mindset of like, oh, you should read your contracts and you should like pay more attention. Maybe get a manager that's good with, or a lawyer or something to look through contracts and stuff. But like, sometimes people just have a way of manipulating, gaslight, gatekeeping, girl boss, and all that really cool fun stuff. And sometimes if you really don't have a lawyer to look at these contracts and really look at the contracts, they can throw in these crazy clauses, and they use this obscure language to make it confusing. I have a lawyer to look at my contracts now because of this exact reason. I used to read all my contracts and I used to think I understood English, but apparently I don't understand English that well, so I'm well aware of that. And also, I haven't really received any money from merchandise that I have sold in the past working with some companies, which is really unfortunate. So I'm pretty convinced that the majority of VTuber merch companies are probably not that good. And as a content creator, it's better to just get your own merch store, like with Fourth Wall or something. I know you don't make as much money potentially. You can't do as many cool things, but at least you get paid. At least you get some kind of money compensation for your merchandise. It's really hard to find good companies that pay their creators when they do collaborations. It happens all the time. All I can say is like, get a lawyer. All you can do is get a lawyer. It's really unfortunate, but yeah, the best you can do is to just get a lawyer and look at the contracts.
a short span of time. Perhaps she's too trusting for her own good. Maybe she surrounds herself with very manipulative people.
Probably,
or
yeah.
maybe she's just not a very smart person. It doesn't necessarily paint a bad picture. Most content creators are stupid in many ways, including yourself truly. At least Bao hasn't promoted a crypto scam, bro.
True!
But 3 major scams in a span of a year?
That's pretty bad.
This could stem from them being young or inexperienced, and in the cutthroat and volatile space that is the entertainment industry, people like Bao can get easily taken advantage.
And they look for people specifically like Bao for that reason. Like I said, all you can really do is just get a lawyer and have the lawyer negotiate for you. Like, yeah, it's really unfortunate how often this happens.
Or easily get burnt. Bao is even aware of this criticism, with a post in December of 2024 where she says that VTubers such as herself cannot go after these failed companies and usually resort to forfeiting owed debt because even if they have a strong case against them, pursuing legally will continuously drain them of money and mental energy. Like, it's just not worth it. She further says that her being scammed all the time is just her being loud whenever somebody wrongs her, implying that she has been sent cease and desist letters as well as threatening emails, and that publicly outing these internal problems with business partners really only invite unnecessary drama, and that Redditor tier intellectuals would think they're an expert about how to deal with said problems. Another segment in her rant says that the people who scammed Bao, among many others, were experienced conniving sons of bitches who also fooled even veteran and smarter creators. Anyone can be a VTuber manager.
Yeah,
Anyone
it's true.
can be a studio or a company,
Yep.
even without the background to back it up.
Yep.
And that because VTubing is so new and niche, many predatory and malicious entities are looking to take...
It's just like old YouTube. It's just like old YouTube with the MCMs. That's all it is. That's what half of the VTuber agencies do too. And guess what's happened to all those VTuber agencies? They've been outed for scams and not paying their creators. It's the exact same thing all over again because it is new. There's a lot of people who are inexperienced with business. And yeah, they get taken advantage of. Like, this is literally, these people harp on those who are in this industry for this exact reason. It's awful. It's really awful. I could go into a whole rant about VTuber managers because I've worked with them and I've seen the stuff that they've done. But that can be a video for another day on the Mara You Made channel where I educate people, not my reaction channel.
Advantage of suckers that are new and inexperienced. She seemingly hints at what her previous manager was doing to her in this rant, charging $1,000 a month just to answer emails and actually just sitting on her ass instead of doing anything for
That's a personal assistant, not a manager.
Pursuing multiple clients to manage them, to take little chunks out of everyone's money, and all the time while delivering nothing. And lastly, saying that people need to speak out whenever bullshit like this happens. And you know, I agree with everything she said at this point. Nothing but facts there, for real, for real. I don't think it needs no breaking down. But living throughout all of these experiences and a few minor cancellation attempts by Twittards, like how she was receiving criticism for Baoberry being fatphobic,
yeah, I remember
and also
this.
a lot of Vietnamese people canceling her for saying Happy Chinese New Year, Bao developed a mental darkness. Throughout 2024, Bao has made it clear that she is not in the best headspace and in the best physical condition, often mentioning a sort of depression, chronic pain, especially from her TMJ issues, and her PMDD. These problems even got to a point that she needed to take a surgery.
Oh no.
This dark mental space is key context for what she would do later, because 2025 would end up perhaps being one of her worst.
Oh no, this is like the whole time skip. So this is about 3 years of brewing of dark energy. It sucks too, because I remember when Bao and I used to be Twitter mutuals, and then I remember she had like a something happened, and I'm guessing Nusagi's about to talk about it, but she unfollowed everybody and blocked a bunch of people, and it was like a whole like sweep now. So we're not mutuals anymore because she unfollowed me and like a bunch of other creators, and she just went radio silent, complete radio silent. I wonder if that's what did that happen last year? Did it? God, my memory is so bad at times.
Years. 2025 wasn't just a very bad year for Bao, it was a bad year for everyone in VTubing. Indie VTubing got bombarded by one drama after another. Big players were leaving Hololive. V-Shoujo collapsed. Nijisanji also lost big players and had a sex pest problem. Ain't nobody was having fun in 2025.
It was not a good year.
But the second biggest drama was the great VTuber takedown of
Oh,
Cinder.
was this?
Now, I'm not just going to recap the entire drama, but I am going to go through specifically Bao's involvement. When Nonetheless dropped her initial Google Doc, Bao got involved and also created her own docu, highlighting that Cinder is the reason Nonetheless cancelled on her model and that this is a grave betrayal. That Cinder's manager, Redacted, was shit-talking Bao to many people and even accused Bao of hoarding a channel editor and an MV editor, after which she would go on stream and cry about the experience that she had. Bao chronicles how completely blindsided she was, that she went out of her way to support and forgive Cinder's past wrongs, and that she hated the fact that Cinder saw them as competition. She further laments how this industry can turn good friendships into transactional relationships, about how ruthless and fake people can be to get what they want. Why her? Out of every friend Cinder had, why specifically her? It's hard not to sympathize.
I do remember this. I think I talked about this. Did I react to this situation? I don't remember if I did. Maybe I talked about it on stream, but unfortunately, there are people who, you know, you think are your friends and you think it could be even years and you could think that they've been your friend supporting the entire time until one day you find out that they were never your friend all along and they just viewed you as either an asset to make them more successful or you're just an enemy that they're just keeping close because of that phrase of keep your friends closer and your enemies closer, you know? And it really sucks when the veil gets pulled over your eyes and you finally can see how much of a terrible person that individual truly is and how they've been preying on your downfall since day one. It's a very devastating realization, and I had to go through that very, very, very recently. It's not fun for your mental health at all.
With Bao here. To a Bao fan, acquaintance, or a Bao friend, this is soul-crushing. Your Oshi genuinely bawling her eyes out for a deep, deep betrayal is a pain very few can picture. And when you know that Bao has been through so much in this past year alone, it can be very easy to become unconditionally supportive. But then later on, Cinder responded, and we have some semblance of proof that in reality, Nonetheless was not as powerless and manipulated as she painted herself to be in the original accusation.
But what about Bao?
Nonetheless was the one that initiated exclusivity and canceling on others. Even if Cinder was ultimately a bad friend, it's undeniable that some facts have been omitted and words were twisted to paint her as more malicious than she actually was. The many people that are involved in this drama came to this extreme conclusion under half-truths and false pretenses by Nonetheless, Bao most especially. With this in mind, the picture that a lot of people have painted was that Bao was just used like a fleshlight by Nonetheless's agenda. Now, under Cinder's 1,000-page Google Docu, Cinder and Redacted made a segment made especially for Bao. In this segment, they apologized to Bao, and Cinder even admits that she indeed had neglected their friendship. Cinder also admits that Redacted indeed hated Bao's guts, and that Cinder slowly got influenced by this hatred.
Why?
And after the initial Google Docu dropped, Cinder wanted to explain her side of the story to Bao, but had already been blocked and refused to hear any of it. In the Google Docu, Redacted admits to hating Bao due to two incidents, where, in TwitchCon 2024, Cinder, Bao, and a few VTuber friends were supposed to meet for dinner, but she never showed up and just blew them off. Even everyone in that dinner was talking about her not being there. Then, a friend of Redacted lamented on how he was guilt-tripped and ulted on by Bao to work with her on a project even though said friend insisted that they could not and didn't want to make it. And on the last night before they would go home, Bao said that she wouldn't eat and meet up with their friends unless the dinner they were going to wasn't fancy. The other instance was in Japan of the same year. Bao allegedly got angry at one of Redacted's friends for an incident with a rude owner, yelling and humiliating them, but was just told that it's just how Bao is. Lastly, when they were supposed to have a Canadian Thanksgiving together with friends, Bao never showed up and even said that she was on her way but never appeared. All these incidents mixed together developed a seed of disdain inside Redacted.
No, wait. You can't say disdain and hated in the same context here. So why would you hate someone's guts for them flaking? You can just say, okay, yeah, whatever, they're flaky. Yeah, I can understand the disdain of it, but I don't understand a hatred and then wanting to prey on someone's downfall because they ghosted you. Just stop inviting them out to places if that's the case. Slowly drift apart of the friendship. Why? That's the part I don't understand. If someone's ghosting you, okay, just don't invite them on anymore. As simple as that. I don't understand like why you start hating and seething over somebody. I don't understand that mentality. If someone could in the comments could explain that to me so I could understand, because I don't understand that. To me, when people are like that, I'm like, okay, I guess I just don't invite them out anymore. All right, and move on. I don't develop a hatred against someone. I know people who are like this. I don't understand.
Where he would start kizoing out whenever Bao got mentioned and wanted to take every chance he can get to shit-talk her.
Why?
This would lead to the whole incident, with Redacted telling Nanoless that Bao sucks and that she guilt-trips people, especially with that one MV editor, Redacted telling Cinder not to do anything with Bao anymore, even to a point that they had big arguments about it. Now, me personally, these are things that don't justify having a hate boner against someone for.
Yeah.
I think Redacted was being more than a little schizophrenic here. But
the word is controlling.
And I failed to mention this in my Cinder video, I do think that it's wholly not something to be ignored. After the entire Cinder response unraveled, even neutral onlookers couldn't just ignore Bao's role in the story. She was easily manipulated by everyone around her. She was insensitive at times in regards to other people's time and resources, and uses her dark mental space or ult to get what she wants. And that she takes people's words at face value, not doing her own research enough or look deeply into career-altering prospects or change. To boil it down, Bao is very stupid. Bao would later respond to the Cinder docky by joking about how much she would like to get a heads up in case somebody out there wanted to make a Google docky about her. But in regards to responding to the events painted by Redacted, she had these to say.
Apparently, a lot of things are worth putting into Google Docs now. I don't know, maybe like taking my editors out for dinner and, one of my editors flying in from the Philippines. Apparently, prioritizing feeding them is a cause for, a grudge against me. Actually, another thing too is, being so obsessed with me that you buy a Twitch sub and stalk my Discord. Try to watch my mental breakdowns to my
Preyed on your downfall?
Apparently that's a cause for a growing grudge, or maybe being pissed off at a racist Japanese shop owner kicking me and my friends out because we were foreigners. Apparently that's also justification for hating the absolute shit out of me. No, sorry, I should have been nicer to that racist old Japanese lady that kicked me and all my friends out despite us having a reservation. Yeah, no, it's cool.
She mentions prioritizing feeding her editor from the Philippines, Red or Cinder stalking her shit to find her mental breakdowns, and her being pissed at a racist Japanese store owner for doing racist Japanese things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, I don't know what she means in her first point. I don't think anything from the Cinder doc relates to this in any way. Maybe I can stretch it and say that this is the reason she flaked out on them multiple times. I don't know. For the mental breakdown accusations, I'm pretty sure she's referring to Red having this hate boner against her here.
Yeah.
And for the yelling at friend in Japan restaurant accusation, she explains that she did what she did because the store owner was being racist and rude. Before we break down these responses, I would like to point out that I'm pretty sure Bao didn't mean for these to be her full-blown response or an explanation for what the doc is saying. Like, she didn't think these through. I'm sure
The way I see things, though, and maybe I'm jumping the gun with this one, is you don't have to force yourself to hang out with people or give them a reason. You don't have to. If you don't have the mental energy or the headspace, or if something does come up, you don't have to hang out with someone. Of course, you can give them like, hey, like a heads up on like, hey, I actually can't make it. I'm so sorry. I just can't. Then I guess if you communicate that, then that should kind of solve it. But to hold a grudge to this degree, to try to control your partner, is really weird. And it's very, very not normal behavior.
there was more to what they did on both trips to TwitchCon in Japan. She did say she was just ranting, but even if this is the case, the fact is, people wanted or expected Shylily, Bao, or Nanoless to make a response. We already had Nanoless's response, which was pretty dog, but for Bao, this was the only response we had to go off of. So let's work with what we have. Let's say the things Redacted says is exaggerated or painted in a way to make them look more favorable. You know, that's what everyone does in a Google Document. It's only their account of the story. Bao also didn't refute all the allegations and just framed it as more favorable for her or just explained her side. So even if what Redacted says is partially true, it still kinda adds a bit more not so favorable context. No one except Bao and the people she has shared the full story with knows what truly happened to her. But with the bits and pieces that's been shared by everyone else, it's hard not to think she's only telling parts of the story that makes her look good. The seeds of doubt against Bao has been watered, but the true unraveling of her reputation would happen soon after. Actually, it already was happening before she even responded to the Google Doci.
Really?
And it's one that, to many, reframed her stupid girl failure mask into something much more colder and malicious.
Oh.
In October 2025, she tweeted this out. If you're an up-and-coming female content creator with a small but growing audience and a much larger and successful male creator approaches you out of nowhere and showers you with attention on stream and in DMs, etc., don't walk, run. Now, the message itself isn't really that big of a deal, IMO, especially because at the time, the Mizkif and Emeru situation was happening in full force. This was a situation where Mizkif was being a vile person towards his former partner Emeru. Now, obviously, I read this tweet and I didn't even register that it was controversial. My reaction was duh, and I even retweeted it, putting attention into the male VTuber stigma and following up with the general interpretation that yes, creators bigger than you hitting you up out of nowhere should be a red flag. But of course, not everyone understood it the way I did, because Bao's wording specifically uses men. And in the current political climate that we live in right now, it unfortunately cannot be helped that the words we say have some sort of connotations whether we like it or not, whether we intended it or not. So a lot of people were calling her out to be anti-men, a misandrist, a full-blown hypocrite who takes advantage of men yet is the first one to cry about it. This situation actually got the Lollymancer VTuber Shondo involved, but I don't want to derail this video by going into that. Those who understood or tried to understand what Bao was trying to say came up to Bao for clarification, but instead of clarifying, she instead said this.
And to the people that are trying to dilute what I'm saying to fit their own, like, stupid-ass anti-woman, I fucking hate you, you're misandrist, I don't care, bro. I don't care, bro. Go fix your receding hairline. You ever heard of Noxidil? Yeah, try that, alright? Don't care. Wrap it up. Okay.
Not a good look. And look, there are undeniably a vocal few who are pissed and wanted to run with the worst interpretation of the tweet possible. Or people who may have some reading comprehension skill issues who took it the wrong way and just decided to run with what the outrage is saying. But there were also people who wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. And when faced with these requests, one would expect that it should be met with grace, but Bao instead decided to lash out, citing that people are just mad at her for inserting themselves into what she is already saying, and in a later Discord message was ranting about how the backlash mostly stemmed from grifters and pyropups that were mad at her. Pyropups, by the way, are Cinder's fanbase. Now obviously, these are not the best way to respond when people are asking for clarification, and it's not a great thing to see for the good faith actors trying to see what you are talking about. But later on, Bao in actual seriousness does respond to the backlash a little bit more properly, although she's still pissed as hell and she still frames a lot of her detractors as retarded. She uses Mizkif as an example, saying that if you don't meet the conditions of these 3 things, then the tweet doesn't refer to you. And that when she says these things, she has a specific set of people in mind, but that she can't say who or she will get sued. And in her anger, she expresses that if you don't understand...
Oh, wait. I can't say anything further. I'm just gonna keep reacting. I'm just gonna keep watching.
And then you're just straight up illiterate or intentionally trying to stir trouble. The rest of her response is just her giving a dissertation on the strat for a lot of big male content creators to get into different women's pussies, but it's not supposed to generalize. Again, I do understand what she was trying to say. I don't think she was trying to be misandrist with that one specific tweet, but calling being cancelled engagement farming.
Nuh-uh.
Blanketing a lot of the criticism as just illiterates and angry pyropups, and going on a blocking spree instead of clarifying properly.
It's because she probably can't. It's just probably because she can't right now.
It's hard not to see that she's being childish, that she refuses to take accountability, does not hold well to criticism, and does not know how to handle backlash. Even if we agree that people were being bad faith and is refusing to genuinely engage with what Bao is saying, which I agree with, I feel like her general messaging was obvious, we also have to agree that Bao is also refusing to genuinely engage with the feedback, and that her response made it hella worse when the drama could have ended from here. That being said, me personally, I can criticize her for not immediately clarifying, but my biggest criticism of her during this arc is the vague posting itself. In general, I hate vague posting. If any content creator wants to talk about a certain happening or wants to throw shade at someone that they can't completely talk about in public, then just don't say it.
Yeah, probably better that she didn't say this if... Yeah, probably better. Unfortunately, when you vague post like this, and for those who do know what's going on, you have to remember that there are lots of people like Nusagi himself, for example, who don't know what's going on, and they can't, like, all they can do is really grasp on the things that you are posting publicly and saying on stream. So it's like with vague posting, it's better just to not vague post. It as frustrating as it is. It's really, really frustrating. It's just better not to vague post because you legally can't comment on it anymore. Man, oh man, oh man. Don't come to my DMs, bro. I will just block you.
Say it
I'm
in
not
private
talking
circles
anymore.
or something, because the moment a vague post leaves your lips and onto the cesspit known as
Pretty
Twitter,
much, yeah.
many people are gonna want to find out.
Exactly.
Many people are going to want to assume or figure out who you were talking about,
Yup.
what you're talking about,
Yup.
and what the point of you talking about it was. Whatever bad happening that comes from your own vague post is completely your own fault. Vague posting is stupid. Vague posting is bad engagement farming. You cannot call other people stupid for not understanding or looking deeply into your own vague post. That's just how I see it, honestly.
It makes
but
sense.
Then literally a week later, in November, Bao got into another bit of trouble. Bao made a tweet on November 1 asking artists to request permission before posting art of their clients. Ere, you spoil whatever projects or plans they might have, and then minutes later, she posts, "I hate you, Skeb." Skeb is a Japanese commissioning website that doesn't operate on the rules of traditional art commissions. In Skeb, commissioners don't get to have revisions, don't get to have commercial rights unless agreed upon, and the commissioner doesn't get to have a large say on how they are allowed to use the art, but it's so cheap, so convenient, so good that you almost hand wave off most of these cons.
Right.
As long as you understand what you're getting into by reading the terms of service, then you're good. It's hard for me to pull up the responses and the retweets from this tweet because it's already been deleted, so you're going to have to take my word for it. But in
I remember this tweet.
She has had multiple responses and retweets calling her stupid and that the artists have no obligation to do that, especially if the commission was via Skeb. She deleted this tweet, like I said, after a while, because in literally 2 days, Skeb subtweeted Bao and gave an entire clarification in English just to hammer it home. It was a bit of a public humiliation for Bao, honestly. And of course, critics joined in on the call-out. A day later, she made a response, saying that she's sorry. She wasn't talking about Skeb on her initial tweet, and the second tweet below was just an add-on after she was talking to creators under her comment section complaining about Skeb because Skeb had the exact same problems. At this point, even passers-by started to notice. Bao was being hostile, being argumentative, being toxic and surrounded by so much drama that it's hard to keep finding positive things to say about her, even if she did have understandable conditions that enabled these behaviors. Her already having a sunken experience in the past few years alone, the whole Cinder saga, and then last week's call-out? Even if one can look at these and feel bad for Bao, in the back of many people's head, it was also hard to ignore her agency in all of it. She keeps getting into a lot of these dramas and situations that at a certain point, you can't defend her. What if those small signs of intellectual incapability,
So, like, is the argument about this saying that she's purposefully drama farming? Is it like I'm trying to think of like what the conversation of this is. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now is like, is it just because of, is that why people hate her so much? Is because they're like, oh, she's purposefully putting herself in these situations? Is that going to be the conclusion of this? Which is interesting because that's just a lot of people speculating off of the stuff that they see face value. So, It could, maybe. I guess we'll see.
Having these crash outs, her being easily manipulated, her being inserted into drama the 5th time this year, what if all of these are her fault? But at this point, the damage was done. At best, Bao was just self-damagingly stupid. At worst, maliciously misandrist. Either way is not a good look, and it was going to be hard to try to get rid of it. She acknowledges this in a tweet later, saying that she hasn't been acting like herself at all, that this year poisoned her, admitting that her being impulsive and wearing her emotions on her sleeve is a disastrous combination, and that lastly, she insists she's not malicious, just dumb as fuck. And well, people still found a way to not like this response, because if we look at the previous history of the post, she did not even say sorry on the original tweet and had to actually edit it afterwards. So was she actually sorry? Does she actually mean it? Is she pulling the mental health card again for sympathy points? I know this might not be the popular opinion anymore, but even in my previous video covering the situation, I gave Bao the benefit of the doubt. I said that she most likely did not mean a lot of the things that she said or meant to hurt or offend anyone, especially the hostile acts, that her doubling down during the misandrist arc wasn't her being serious about it, just her lashing out. That she was just overwhelmed and reacting with hostility, seeing red and accidentally making it look worse for herself. Is she malicious? Probably not, but I anticipate that a lot of people will heavily disagree. Does it still deserve criticism? Of course it does. There comes a point where the line between stupid and malicious blurs, that you become so stupid it can come across as malicious, especially if you don't work on it.
That's
But
true.
my two biggest criticisms for Bao is that 1, she cannot shut up, and that from the incidents that we've gathered so far, 2, she can't take accountability. Again, a lot of what happened to her is not her fault, but it wasn't like she had zero control. She is a victim of circumstances, but a lot of these circumstances she created herself. It's always
That's
big harsh
unfortunate.
world versus poor little Bao. It's always Bao's approachability that always gets taken advantage of. It's always Bao's kindness that gets abused. Instead of working on her emotional impulsiveness, she would lash out, make excuses for herself, and blame everyone else, falling into this spiraling loop of self-victimization that she forgets or cannot take accountability for the parts in all the previous incidents that she had control over. She's an adult. Like I said, you can really only feel bad for a person to a certain extent or use the mental health card so many times before people start calling you out. She could have communicated better, reacted more calmly, actually used her head, and most importantly, shut up. I don't necessarily agree that these were mask-off moments for Bao. To me, this was just the other side of the coin of being a genuine stupid girl failure turned up to 11. Yeah, it's cute in the context of ooh anime, I don't know how to take care of myself kind of way. It's endearing when they perform it on camera, but in business relationships, in maintaining friendships, in conducting yourself in public, you fucking cook yourself. And you actually have to take accountability for it. If you know you're stupid, maybe take steps to protect yourself and others that take into account the fact that you're stupid. She needs to overhaul how she engages with people in public, and even perhaps how she conducts herself in private if redacted stories are to be believed. 2025 started with Bao being a victim, but it ended with Bao being a villain.
That's crazy.
The Nanoless Cinder Google Docu, the career takedown that started to unravel Bao's reputation, happened in April of 2025. So there is some sort of poeticness to the fact that the career takedown, that is the Mal Saikuno Google Doc, also was released in April this year, as this is the most recent situation that Bao's name got smeared yet again. Now, the Mal Saikuno Google Docu is a weird saga. I already have a video on it, or at least I'm going to work on it, but Bao was loosely involved. In this Google Docu, it is revealed that this tweet, the misandrist tweet that jumped the Bao slander stocks, wasn't actually about Misgif, but was actually vague posting about Saikuno all along. Many people went back to this tweet and said their pieces. Apologize to Bao. Y'all need to say sorry to Bao. Me personally though, yes, it does reframe what she said, but I still hate vague posts. I think the act itself was still harmful.
But she said that she would get sued if she talked any more about it. So like, yeah, vague posting is not, it definitely does not do you justice, unfortunately. It makes you feel better in the moment when you post it because you feel like you finally let your emotions out, and it does feel nice at the time, but it never ends up well.
Overall. And at first, the doc was a W. She was credited in the Google Doc to be responsible for informing Mal, the creator, that Saikuno had a girlfriend. Heck, she even took it one step further and connected Mal and said girlfriend. But when the Saikuno Google Doc ended up poorly for the original detractors, she was dragged into it as well. She had a hand in promoting a bad Google Docky and giving platform to the worst person to make said docky. So she would make a stream clarifying her involvement in all of this. She wasn't part of making the doc, wasn't part of the cancellation itself. There were no pushes to make this doc from her. All Bao did was inform and connect the girlfriend and Hemoma. That was it. And that in terms of tweeting, she hasn't actually logged in for entire months.
Oh, wow.
Now, while I do believe that Bao had limited involvement in this Google Docky, a lot of the backlash came from the fact that she got herself into another drama and another poorly thought out career takedown.
Oh.
Even if she was not involved, the fact that she got herself into this situation again makes people think that she has this like magical anomalous power to get herself into drama and then cry about it.
Oh,
And then one meme culminated it all. A screenshot of her saying, "Men sexualize us all the time. They just mad we now don't know them." All while having a Fansly account that says that she is, and I quote, a 24/7 free use puppy girl waiting to be put in her place.
Oh?
And
Wait,
well,
what?
it summarizes a lot of the issue people had with Bao, even enforces the misandrist arc. It
What?
gives the impression that Bao is the type to follow the men are pigs angle, all
What?
while being happy to receive money from said pigs
What?
and whore herself out.
What?
And while that tweet was made in
Wait, she has this? Wait, what? Wait. What? No way.
2021, we can see why that tweet was deleted. The audacity of it, growing a parasocial, horny audience so you can reap them for money, only to actually secretly loathe or think super lowly of them behind their backs? It does not look good. At least, not if you look at it without greater context. What she was
Right.
actually responding to was a video where a tourist was claiming that VTubers are
tourist?
manipulators, that they exploit their audience with sex. I've watched this video and I know that it's
I remember this video. Oh my god. I'm haunted by this person's video for so long, for so many years, dude. This person. Oh my god. I remember this.
old, but it's critique on VTubing that I think is very bad. Coming across as a cynic's perspective for being a cynic's sake. It has too many lapses in its research and whose critique isn't specific or unique to VTubing and whose conclusions are too much of a stretch to make a meaningful or impactful message.
I remember.
It's a video that I would constitute as being made by a tourist who doesn't really know too much about VTubing.
Pretty much,
and whose
yeah.
exposure to the medium and industry is max a week or so, even if
Yeah.
it was made 4 years ago.
Yeah.
As someone that is part of the industry, I know this medium has a lot of flaws and things to criticize about, legit things, valid things, but this video was not it, nor was the creator the best person to make it.
Nope,
The
and
video
then he
itself
doubled down on it
receiving
too.
a shit ton of backlash, even from other VTubers aside from Bao, is, in my opinion, justified. But even with this context in mind, it's going to take a lot to change a lot of our critics' mind. It's clear that a large fraction of people are just fed up with Bao, and it's a sentiment that will follow her for the foreseeable future.
That's unfortunate.
The biggest takeaway from all of this loops back to what I said in the beginning and in the middle of this video. Being a girl failure is cute, makes you popular, but it also brings you unwanted trouble and drama if you don't know how to rein it in. A lot of the dramas that Bao got involved in were dramas where she just needed to shut up and not get involved. Maybe she can learn from this. She learned it the hard way, but hey, a forced
That sucks.
self-reflection is better than no self-reflection.
Yeah.
Yes, she did retweet the Saikuno doc, but she largely stayed quiet before and during that whole thing, so she's going in the right direction, I think. The VTuber space is brutal. Bao herself knows this. Emotional openness is a strength for community and friendship, but it also becomes a weakness for self-management and appearance. Now, a lot of people aren't waiting for Bao to change. In fact, they're waiting for Bao to get loosely involved in another drama again.
Oh,
Also,
this
they can have
sucks.
more reasons to clown on her. A lot of VTubers that has had that sort of heavy criticism and hate back then, like Vebe and Yanners, were able to somewhat rehabilitate their reputation by just shutting up and no longer embroiling themselves in drama. Mori Calliope has actually even found herself in a similar situation once in 2021, not knowing when to shut up and how to shut up, and not being able to manage her emotions, responding with clapbacks that only made it obvious that she was affected, and giving ammunitions for trolls. But 4 years later, it seems like even we have forgotten that she was like that at one point. It
That's
wasn't to the
true.
same extent as Bao, but that's because Mori caught herself at an earlier point in time.
But you also got to remember that Maury Calliope has the backing of a major company called HoloLive, who are training her and the other talents to learn how to be quiet and how to hold themselves accountable and present themselves in a way that looks good for the company. Bao, like many other indies, don't have that same type of resource. I'm not saying that this is an excuse, but you got to understand, like, there is a big difference when you can afford to have mentors to mentor you and train you on how to act publicly versus just kind of winging it. You got to keep that in mind.
Now, I don't hate Bao. In fact, I quite like her. I have a thing for absolute loser women. So, I have a bit of a bias.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that, Nusagi? You told me that you like me too. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I'm kind of curious.
And I am not as vitriolic as the hate there currently is on her. I was down there in the trenches, waiting in line, bought her merch, and gave her the fullest extent of my benefit of the doubts. So much so that my benefit of the doubt stock is running critically low. If more happens, I am sure I won't have much to give of that to Bao any longer. But despite that, even I understand that Bao did deserve a lot of the criticism that many people have pointed out. Even if I don't necessarily agree with some of them, I can see why it's a problem. I want Bao to stop getting involved in drama. I want her to take control of her emotions and, do better. To me, the extent of her actions aren't enough to think she's unforgivable, but she still needs to act. Bao is a dumb fuck, and it takes more than recognition of your flaws to try and address it, but it is the first step. In any case, I hope this video is a bit more balanced and grounded than what you might have expected. Whether or not you dislike Bao or you still like Bao, I hope you can understand the aim of this video as well as why it needed to be addressed. So if you want to support or help me make more videos like this, subbing to my Patreon or YouTube memberships will be helpful. Anyway, that's really all about it.
So I will say that this is definitely a grounded video in the sense of it being non-biased. Like, he's just presenting the facts, which unfortunately sometimes just presenting the facts is enough to make people dogpile and hate on you. It's crazy. I know. But one thing that I will personally say about this whole situation is that these types of videos and the viewers and community that's involved in this entire industry can only make observations based off of what is being shown to you. There is a lot of things that you don't see behind the scenes, a lot of talks, a lot of hangouts and VCs, a lot of appearances that happens at conventions that you don't really get to see or hear about because no one talks about them. They keep them very hush-hush. There's a lot of things that people can only judge you on with what you are publicly saying. Like, even right now, the things that I'm saying right now, this entire video, all my other content, you can really only judge at this moment. You don't necessarily know the meanings about this unless if I've told you in private what these are meant to be said. And even then, people can still twist that kind of narrative in private conversations as well, right? So it's really unfortunate for Bao in particular because I'm sure there's a lot of things that we just don't have the context to. Again, I'm not saying this because like I'm standing up for her in every possible way. It's as more like there's a lot of things that you just don't know. And unfortunately, with the vague posting and the drama and this everything else that we all do see that she's been involved with, that's realistically the only thing that people can judge her on is what they see. Or unless if somebody goes around and starts telling things about her or the other situations that have happened through the grapevine. Those are really the only two things. And even then, you still can't really prove what any of that stuff has been said. And it's so interesting to me as someone who's been in this industry for a very, 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 very long time to see how these interactions, both publicly and privately, have come together into videos like this, for example. And it shows me just how much context is needed for whatever it is that you do or say in public. Like, context is so important, and knowing how to hold yourself up in public, how to talk, and how to proceed where you know other people are watching every little thing that you do. it's it's not easy, man, unless again you have like a team that helps you and they really got that stuff on lockdown. Everything can just be taken and thrown to a particular narrative. And that's very fascinating to me. And just in general, like the whole concept of this is just very fascinating to me. Makes me wonder, like, dang, what have I said in my time as my careers have been around? What have I said or done that could be taken in such a negative light into the future? Are the things that I'm saying right now going to be building me a path of success or my inevitable downfall? It makes you wonder as like a creator where you can go from now and when you can kind of learn from this kind of stuff to carve your path out in your career. At the end of the day, if this does lead to like your downfall or something like that, realistically, all you can do is figure out how to rebuild yourself back up and how to become a better person and have some self-reflection. That's like, man, it really goes to show that what you say publicly matters so much, and you should be very careful about how you want to present yourself online because you never know when it could blow back up in your face. I don't know. What did you guys all think about this video? I'm very curious to know your thoughts. I want to read your comments. Let me know. Pick apart the things that I say and as what Nusagi's been saying. Like we both enjoy reading the comments. I'm sure he probably looked at this video at some point. I'll probably message him. I got a message about that loser girl comment though. So yeah, I'm very curious to know what your guys' thoughts are. So yeah, comment down below, let me know. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day today. Bye! If you want to see the uncensored versions of these videos, then check out my Patreon where I upload all uncensored content as well as some other videos on there. And let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments below. And is there anything else you'd like to see on this channel because I upload every single day. And with that, thank you so much for watching. And remember, everything reminds you of something. Bye!